IRIS is the Integrated Research Intelligence System. It's the research platform where all of our proprietary data sets will be managed and maintained. The data sets that are managed by research include subdivision land development and lot construction data, project-level sales and marketing data, public records or deed data, and the Global Corporations database. Within IRIS, legacy subdivision data has been converted from summarized section data down to a new lot-level database, which has allowed us to track construction by lot and to link other data sets down at the property level. Tracking data at the property level has also made it possible for us to use machine learning and satellite intelligence to measure construction activity and to associate non-contiguous lots with builder projects. Research is managed by region, so the application is market-specific. Users are provisioned for one or more markets, so when a user logs in, they select the market they want to work in and select it from the drop-down. Data and maps are tightly integrated throughout the application, and the platform is divided into three main areas. Since most research begins with a location, maps with interactive layers and geo-management tools are a central part of the application. The control panel is what we consider our jumping off point for record management and navigation. Data is organized in tabs across the top, by top level container, by workflow and QA and flags. The third module is, close this up, the third module is the data grid. And this is where we select records and manage the updates. The application toolbar shows the selected subdivision in the top left corner. It has map controls that become visible at different zoom levels and enabled at different zoom levels. There is the market selector dropdown, and then our toolbox where we have a number of different tools. We can access the data grid here, plus other workflow-specific features. We have a profile settings and documents located under the user login icon, where a user can load up a legend. This kind of mimics the legend that's in Enterprise today. See what the definitions are for flags. They can customize their profile, like selecting a quarter to be the default and various things like that, set a market as a default, and where we can sign in and sign out. I want to talk next about the map layers, the data, and the tools. So let me get the grid out of the way here. The base layers, we're using Google Maps and Google Satellite for the base layer, but when you zoom in further, we also have additional base layers available. So we can use an Airbus base layer at zoom 17 and above, which actually gives us much more current data, or we can load Nearmap as a base layer. Map layers and GeoTools are available at different zoom levels. A user can hover over each individual tool to find out what it does. If a tool has a solid background, that means that the tool has actually been activated. If the background is clear, as in this example, it means that the tool is available at the zoom level but is not currently active. Under some of the different GeoTools, we have additional features and filters that can be accessed through a drop-down. Currently, the subdivision pin is the active layer. All subdivisions are represented by a single point on the map. The pins are available at Z7 and above and are also limited by the market boundary. The pin icon shows the selected subdivision count. So if I were to activate an additional tool and turn off future, for example, it updates the count. So now it indicating that we have 286 active subdivisions showing on the map in the Sarasota market. Subdivision pins are color-coded by status. Purple indicates active, and the teal color are the future subdivisions. Right-clicking on a subdivision gives us additional information about that particular subdivision. We can access information such as XY coordinates and copy those for use in other applications. We see the most recent image dates available for this given subdivision, when the I-boundary was created and the last time it was finalized, and then a quick summary of just the basic stats about that individual subdivision. A subdivision location can be adjusted by a long press on the subdivision, and when it starts bouncing, then if I wanted to move it to a different location, I can just find the correct location, right-click on the map, and then I can relocate the subdivision. Satellite intelligence points are produced by one of 3 machine learning models that detect either large-scale land development, grading and road paving, or the construction stage on an individual lot. Subdivision updates are scheduled on a rolling cadence and are subscribed to one of the machine learning models. So whenever we get a new image for a subdivision, if it's in the subscription window, then it's processed for I-points. Those I-points are then sent to us in a batch and displayed in Iris. I'll zoom in here so you can actually see how these work and turn on a base layer. I-points are associated with a lot when it intersects with a parcel boundary for one of the lots that we're tracking. Turn that off. I-points are one of the variables that we use to update the construction status. The I-point tool allows the user to view the I-points on the map, and then we can also filter it by the batch date. So as you can see, these I-points fall on top of an individual property, and this I-point batch is dated March 1st, so we're doing this demo in a QA environment, so we probably have newer data that would correspond with the base layer that we're looking at. I-points are color-coded by the construction status that was detected on the image as it was processed. So red indicates that it detected a completed roof. Yellow means that the unit is still under construction, which is actually correct. We can see that there's still a lot of construction debris here and the roof does not look complete. Blue indicates a slab. Now possibly this was generated from a different image and maybe there really was a slab here, or this could be an incorrect detection. And so we have another feature under the I-point tool that allows us to validate I-points. So a user can toggle on this tool, and when the validation tool is activated, it goes back to the BirdEye server and it pulls the satellite image from which these I-points were generated for this batch date. Get this out of the way here. So if a user wanted to validate or send a correction or feedback to the BirdEye team, they would simply right-click on an I-point, go to I-point validation status, and it detected it as a completed roof, which is correct in this case. And so we would mark it as completed, and it would send that feedback to the team. And now that we've loaded the actual image that was used to generate these eye points, we can see that this really is a slab. And so this is an accurate eye point. We would just go ahead and validate that. And so on. Once the user finishes validating all the eye points within a subdivision, the feedback is sent to the satellite team in a batch, and that corresponds with the image from which it was generated, and then the team can use that to tune or improve the model. Intelligence boundaries are essentially subdivision boundaries and used to delineate the active areas of a subdivision. So when new plats or phases are added to a subdivision, the user can adjust the boundary, and the updated files are sent every night to the satellite team and essentially used as a target to harvest new images that intersect with an eye boundary. The image box tool is used to retrieve satellite imagery in real time for a specific subdivision. So if we're manually updating the status of a subdivision and need to look at the most current satellite imagery, what the user would do, I'd first turn off my boundary, the image box allows the user to be very precise in selecting just the tiles that they're going to retrieve. So in this case, the image box is pretty large, and we don't want to spend the money to retrieve all the tiles in this large area. So if we knew that we were just needed to look at this one particular active area down here, we can size the image box. And then when we turn on and ask to retrieve the satellite imagery, it'll pull just the tiles that overlap with the image box. Parcels are really the building blocks of our data set. The parcel layer contains both property boundaries from the county assessor, which are supplied by a third party, and user parcels, here's an example down here, that are created by the managers when activity is detected on a lot, but we have not yet received the official assessor parcel. So parcel polygons serve as the link to our lot records in the database, and it's also our mechanism for linking other data sets to an individual property. We can tie other data sets such as eye points, deed data, quick move-in data, and other data sets that we haven't started exploring yet. Parcels are color-coded by the most recent construction status. So a red lot indicates that the last time we updated this lot, it was detected as a completed and occupied home. Yellow is under construction, teal is vacant developed lot, this lavender color indicates a model, and there's another purple that indicates future. We don't have an example of that here. We also have a lot of metadata tied to each of our parcels. So right-clicking on a parcel gives us a menu of options. One of those options is parcel data. This allows us to see all of the assessor data that we get from our provider, and it also shows us the most recent transaction information. So we can see that Lennar sold this home to this individual on this date. We get the sale price. We can also see which subdivision and which plat this particular lot is associated with. One of the other options in a drop-down is to assign a lot. So if we find that a new plat has been recorded and we haven't yet associated this lot, for example, with one of the lots in our database, then we would just click Assign Lot, and pick the appropriate section within that subdivision, and hit Save. Once a lot has been assigned to a record in the database, then the appearance changes, and until a construction status is added to this lot, it'll just be purple until the first update. Other options include creating a user lot. So just give a quick demo of what that might look like. So in this area, we can see that they're just beginning construction, and it's too soon for us to have the official layer from the assessor's office. So if we knew, in this example, users have already created lots on top of activity where we didn't have a parcel yet, but here's a unit where we don't have a user lot created yet. So if I right-click on the map and select Create User Lot, it starts me off with just a small square, but I can change that to a rectangle. I can rotate it, and I can make it a little bit wider. Once I'm happy with my user-created lot, then I would just select which section this belongs to, or phase within the database. I could also actually add the construction status right now for a given quarter. So let's assume this is 1Q23. I could set this as an under construction lot, and if I had the information, I could put in the APN, the address, and the block and lot. And then I can save that record. Users also have the option to update the construction status on a given lot. We have a much more efficient method for when we're doing a complete subdivision update, but if a user just wanted to change or correct a lot in a one-off sort of workflow, then they can just right-click on the lot, select lot status, and change pick the quarter and then change the status. So if I thought that maybe this was really, I don't know, a finished vacant not under construction, or maybe I knew it was going to be a model, I could change it to model and then just save that. Several other tools are available under the parcel dropdown. So a user can do a number of different things with the appearance of the layer. A user can turn off the fill for the entire layer or by individual status. So there are certain workflows where it would be very efficient to be able to only have the parcels that are vacant and developed shaded, or to do the reverse of that if there was a specific focus or area that we were trying to update. Turn off the satellite imagery, it's easier to see these treatments on the map. So, for example, if I were doing a manual update of this subdivision, it might be easier for me just to turn off the fill on all of the occupied lots, because I don't really need to look at those. Once they're occupied, they don't need to be updated again. So if I turn off the global fill and then turn off the fill for the occupied, it allows me to just focus on the lots that really need to be updated. We also have the ability to change the appearance to show only or to highlight the lots that haven't been updated in the current quarter. So if we wanted to see or focus only on the ones that don't have a 2Q23 update, we would select that option. And as expected, it's really outlining or dropping the fill out of all of the lots, because this is a 1Q23 instance of the database. Turn everything back on. Okay, moving on to the QMI layer. QMI, or quick move-in, inventory is scraped from a builder website and linked to a parcel in Iris. I'm going to navigate to a subdivision where I can show some actual data. QMI is color-coded by status. Yellow indicates that the unit is still available, and pink indicates that the unit is off-market. Right-clicking on a QMI point shows us the floor plan information about that particular unit, when it was last seen on the builder's website, when we last scraped the builder's website, and then we derive the status as either available or off-market. Again, this is QA data, so it's not current. This is probably actually off-market at this point. We also have a hyperlink that allows the user to click here and visit the builder website and view more details about that QMI unit. QMI data is one of the variables we use to derive a construction status. So in this example, the most recent update showed that we had an eye point that indicated or detected a slab, which would be translated to an under construction unit, and we had a QMI unit that was available. If we right-click, we'll find out from the parcel data that there is no recent transaction here, and so no deed is associated with this particular lot. So by combining these different variables, we can derive that the unit was under construction at the time of update. The bird eye button retrieves the most recent satellite image that falls within the image box. Go to a different subdivision here. Satellite imagery through the bird eye button is available at zoom level 17 and 18. So if we go back to the image box, we can see that we're going to want to focus on just one area here. Because there is a cost associated with imagery, it doesn't make any sense to retrieve images for this area where all the homes are already completed and occupied. So before we activate the bird eye button, we would click on the image box for this particular subdivision and size it way down to just this area that we want to look at. Turn off the boundary layer here. Turn off the eye points. Okay, now I'm ready to activate the bird eye button. So it sends the bounds of this image box back to the server and then retrieves the tiles that overlap, just the tiles that overlap with this image. And so at Z17, the image is not, the resolution of the image is not as high, but if we zoom into 18, we get a much clearer view. And so if we needed to do a manual update, or if we were verifying an update that was already completed. So this is a workflow where the user might activate the bird eye button. Okay, moving on to the toolbox. First up is Luna, or the Lot Management Grid. This is the module where the research team spends the majority of their time maintaining and updating the lot level data. organizing and reviewing the data all takes place in here before finalizing. There are 4 main areas within Luna. So first and most complicated is the Lots tab. Users can load lots into the grid in a number of different ways. Move this out of the way and navigate to yet a different subdivision. Turn on the parcel layer. So when Luna is launched, it also opens up the map selection tools. So one of the methods for getting lots into Luna is to select using a single pointer. So I can click on each individual lot and they're being added into the grid as they're selected. As you can see, the records are being added below. I can draw a polygon. And select these lots. Or I can use the subdivision boundary or I boundary to select all the lots that fall within. Now all 499 lots within this subdivision are loaded in the Lots tab. If I want to clear out and start over, just click here and say clear everything. Another method for loading lots into the grid, you can just go to a section in the control panel. Let's see. If I want to load all the lots for phase 1A and 1B, I just click on the little icon next to the section name, and it automatically will select all of the lots on the map that are associated with that section and load them into the Lots tab in Luna. And I can see at the top that there are 59 parcels associated with this particular phase. If we have a larger area that we're working on, we can load lots into the tab using any one of these criteria fields. So if I wanted to, I could select an entire county and load all of the lots, or a survey territory. I could load lots specific to the type of update that it had, which I'll explain in a few minutes in a workflow, or various codes. I can also show the history of individual lots through the quarter selection dropdown. So right now I have all of the lots loaded for Bayview Isles, and I'm looking at every piece of data that we have for each individual lot. And the current status column shows for 1Q23 how the construction status was derived and the actual construction status. If I wanted to or needed to change the history of one or many lots, I could just change the quarter and it'll repopulate the grid accordingly. Also up in the header, we have the ability, I'll just go ahead and clear this out, to search just for a single subdivision from right within Luna. So if I want to bring up the lots again for Bayview Isles, if I hit search, it'll go and retrieve all 499 lots again, or I can just select a single section from the drop-down. So what we have listed here are all of the active and future sections or phases associated with this subdivision. And there are a number of different data points that we can visualize here. We could select multiple sections to pull in all the lots. That's what these checkboxes are for. This gives us the phase name, some basic information about that phase, who the builder is, the lot size, and the total number of lots. And if we needed more information to decide what we wanted to select, we can click on the section summary, which shows us the selected quarter profile, along with how many parcel polygons have been associated with this phase, the min-max price, and if it was a future section, it would also show us the land status. Below that, we can see the previous status, so it gives us a very good snapshot and helps the user determine which section they want to work on. Or they can update information from within here as well. This tool allows us to cycle through all of the sections should we need to review them in batch mode. For now, I'll just go ahead and select section 3. Note that section 3 is highlighted in red. This indicates that there is a parcel delta within this section. We either have too many parcels assigned or not enough parcels assigned. So if I go back to the section summary, I can see that this phase has 45 lots, but we have it has 45 parcels assigned, but the section has 46 lots. So we have a delta of 1 lot that needs to be corrected. That's something that the user would address through the regular update process. For now, we have section 3 selected, and when we hit search, it will load all of the lots into the grid for section 3. We also have the option to include built-out sections if we felt like we needed to go back and view those or reassign lots from an older section. The action buttons over to the right have a number of different features. So the clear button allows us to clear the search filters either within the grid or the criteria that was set up in the header, or we can just clear everything out and start all over again. Search is used after you set criteria to fill the grid with lots. The lot status feature allows us to do a bulk update. So if I could select all of the lots or just specific lots within this section and set the construction status all to be the same. So for example, I could use the filter tools that are, by the way, we're able to sort and search on individual columns, or we can filter. So I can filter this column to just the occupied units. I could select all of them and then do a bulk update and set the construction status to occupied for another, if I were doing an update for another quarter. We have the same sort of feature for the land status. So for future lots, we can select all of the lot records and then do a bulk update to either say no change or set the land status for all of them. I'll get into a little more detail on the grid now. So as I said before, once records are loaded into the lot grid, we pretty much have access to every piece of data or everything that we know about an individual lot. And all of these columns are listed across the top. The columns are, again, you can filter. We can sort on columns, but another cool feature is that we can group by any one of these column headers. So if I wanted to group all of my lots by builder, I can do that and then interact with them at that level. We also have a feature where if the user clicks on a row, it navigates the map to the individual lot that the user clicked on. Move this down a little bit and turn off the boundary. There we go. So as I'm clicking, it's moving the map and highlighting the lot that I'm clicking on. Let's go over to a syntax section. Many of the fields in the grid actually have a drill down feature. So for example, if we wanted to change the history for this particular lot, we can click on the previous construction status and it will open up all the history that we have for that particular lot. And we can adjust it. If we found that there was an error or something like that, we can fix it right in here. It also does math checks and in real time, and it looks for various other errors that I'll demonstrate in an update workflow in a few minutes. But basically it's looking for things like inventory moving backward, or construction moving backward, or not moving fast enough, or moving too quickly. Those are things that we would detect and alert the user to, and in this case it tells us that there are 3 unresolved math checks, and it asks the user to please resolve these before they move on. If I sort descending by the deed count, it'll show me every lot that has a deed already associated with it. And so in this case, it's an occupied unit. We have the deed that's already been linked to this lot. And if I click on the sale date, I can see more information about that individual transaction. The grid has a number of different bulk update options, so I could select all of the Centex lots and do a number of different things. So I could change the assignment. For example, if these lots turned out to be in a different phase, or we had to split the phase because they're offering a different product line, any one of those scenarios, I can in bulk move those lots to a different phase. We also have the ability to remove the lot, which means just take it out of the grid, or we could delete the lots. We only allow users to delete lots, though, that are user created, or what we call a shapeless lot, which is really a lot record without a parcel. We can have the application search for possible deed matches for all of the records that have been selected, or I can rerun the logic, which I'll demonstrate in a few minutes, on how we derive a construction status. I could have the application rederive that status if we, let's say, got a new batch of deeds or new I points or something to that effect. One other feature I wanted to point out is we have the ability to customize the grid. So in this view, I've just got it titled the Lot Update View. I'm pretty much pulling in every piece of data that we have, and I have the columns ordered in a particular way. But if I were working on a different workflow or something very specific, maybe just looking at deed data for some reason, then I can go in here and customize my view. So I could create a new view, and it starts out with the default, and then I can just move the columns around and give it a name and save it. One of the other bulk options that we have is to either create shapeless lots and then merge them with a DMP parcel, or take existing shapeless lots and merge them with new parcels that we receive from the county assessor. Section 9 within this subdivision is a future section, and it has 50 lots for which we created shapeless lots. And as I mentioned earlier, a shapeless lot is really a lot that we know about. Typically it's future, but we don't have enough context on the ground to actually create the lots accurately, and we don't have an assessor layer yet. So we need to create a lot record. It just doesn't have a shape. And so for this particular section, we've already created 50 shapeless lots. Let's see if I can change my view here. And as you can see, the majority of these are in the lot source is shapeless. Once we have an official parcel from the assessor's office, then it'll say DMP, which is the third-party provider of the parcel layer. So in this example, I'm going to select just the shapeless lots. And I'm going to merge them with the new parcel layer that we just received. So let me turn on the Airbus layer so we can see the area. When we looked at it the last time, they were just excavating or maybe starting the roads, and that's when we created the shapeless lots. So now what I'm going to do is click on these DNP parcels. So I've selected 17 lots, and I have a total of, I think, 45 to work with. So I've selected 17 so far, and now I can merge these with the official assessor parcel. Scroll down to the bottom here. So I would continue on the map until I had selected 50. Now I have all 45 lots, and if I hit save, it's going to turn them into official assessor or DNP lots. Now we have shapes for these future lots, which when we actually do the update, these will become vacant and developed because the roads are in. Okay, moving on to the Deeds tab. This feature is not complete, but the basic features are in place where we can search for deeds, match and unmatch, edit a deed type. We can use the drawing tools to search for deeds as well. So I'm going to set my criteria. I could search for a whole county, but I will do a small data set here. So I'll set the start date at January 2022. So we get a larger data set and through today. And we're going to limit it to just new sale deeds, and we want to look for any deeds that are not yet matched all the way to a lot. If I turn on the deed drawing tools, I can now search by polygon. So I'll go ahead and draw a polygon in this area, and it executes the search. And it returned 34 deeds that fell within this polygon that are new home deeds that we have not yet matched, either through automation or manually, to a specific lot. So I can select all of these and say show deeds, which they're already shown on the map, but this will focus my work on these particular deeds. And now as I click on each row, it will move the map to where that deed was geocoded. So here's an example where the deed falls squarely on the centroid of this lot. So if I right click, I can see the information about the deed, and if I believe that this is a good new home deed, then I can go ahead and match that with the lot where it falls. The Summary Review tab is used throughout the update cycle to review updates that are in progress, ready to submit, or managers can review the completed updates and approve the final status. This works just like all the other tabs. We have different criteria to be applied at the subdivision level, and the user has to pick a quarter of data that they want to review. Let's just go ahead and select some here. We'll select some records that are in progress or ready to submit. The grid has the same features that are available in all the other tabs, with one exception. The data is arranged hierarchically in this tab so that we are grouping the data by subdivision, and then it can be expanded to show all of the various sections underneath the subdivision and the profile data for the current quarter and the previous quarter. So this gives the manager enough information to determine whether they want to move on with that update and approve it, or if they think it needs additional review, then they can go back and do additional work before they actually submit it. So in this example, we can go ahead and just group these by update status. We have 3 that are in progress, meaning one of the managers or a research analyst is still working on the update and it's not completed yet. And these 19 are in a ready to submit status. And so before these can be submitted, the user would actually have to go in, do their review, but then set the update method, which in this case was satellite, and then save it. And after reviewing the data, if they felt like everything was good, then we could select that record, submit it, and now it moves into an approved status. Notice there are only 19 and ready to submit now. If we add submitted to our criteria and search again, we can see that now this record has been submitted and is ready to approve. So the manager selects the record, approves it, and this record is complete for the update cycle. The utility tab is not yet complete, but will include data integrities and workflow specific features. Currently we do have the DMP parcel maintenance feature complete. This is a good segue to go back over to the map tools and demonstrate one of the parcel maintenance features under the toolbox. To do this, I'm going to go ahead and switch markets to Raleigh, where I know we'll find some records to be done. Each month we process an update to the county assessor layer. When new assessor parcels are added, we need to convert or merge the user-created lots along with all of their history and merge them into the new official parcel. So I'm going to use the Raleigh data to demonstrate how this would be done with this tool that's specific to this workflow called Merge Lots. In Luna, in the Utility tab, this is the one feature that is complete, is the DMP maintenance workflow. And so when a user is ready to do their monthly maintenance, they can come in here, select that workflow, hit search, and it will show them a list of subdivisions where they can look at the data in terms of how many total lots we have, how many parcels have already been assigned, have we created any user lots, do we have shapeless lots, and were any lots archived, meaning they existed previously but don't exist in the new layer. We archive those for the user to review in case we need to restore them. And then it makes a projection on how many new lots there might be. So this helps the user kind of focus their workflow on just those subdivisions where parcel maintenance is likely required. They can click on the subdivision name and it will navigate them to that particular subdivision. I have one example that I've already identified that I think will work out well. Here we have 2 user lots that were created, and if you look closely, you'll see the light green outline. These are new DMP parcels. And so what needs to happen here is we need to merge these user lots along with all the history. So it will take all of the history associated with this user lot and merge it with this new DMP parcel. So when you launch the merge lots tool, it actually opens it up in a whole separate browser window so that I can move it over to the other screen and or my other monitor so that I have more real estate to work with. But just for this demo, I'll keep it here. And I'll move the Luna grid out of the way. So now I can use the map selection tools here. And when I click on this new parcel, it selects them into the merge lots window for me. Now I can see that there are multiple lots stacked on top of each other, so I'm going to go ahead and deselect this lot and just work with this one. So the tool shows me the new parcel, the DMP parcel, and then it shows me anything that is overlapping with that lot or intersecting with that lot. So I have a user lot and I have an archived lot. So if I go to my parcel filter tools and show the archived parcels, I can see where there was a lot here originally that is not part of the new updated layer. That's going to require a little bit of research. So the manager would go and take a look at the plat to see if that's a lot that we need to restore. But just to demonstrate this particular tool, what the user would do is they would select the new official assessor parcel, the user lot that they want to merge it with, and then hit merge. And now we have converted that user lot to an official DMP parcel. There are a few other options under the toolbox. The mode control takes over the right-click map option menu. This is designed to reduce the number of clicks for repetitive tasks and specific workflows. For example, if I had a new subdivision and new lots and I needed to create user lots, if I set the mode to create user lots, I can just collapse it. It goes up to the top out of the way, and then everywhere that I click, I'll be creating user lots instead of having to go through the menu options. The deed search tool this feature isn't complete, but eventually this tool will replace the current deed validation tool. So the features will support the current daily deed review workflow where users match deeds to a builder, a subdivision, and a lot. They can review price and deed type, the known seller review, search for missing deeds. This tool is a global search for deeds in the entire market. A user can pair criteria like counties, territories. They can set date range, search for certain deed types, search for deeds that have been matched or not matched, and then we have some different text filters. These can be paired with geotools. So the user could draw a polygon or just select a rectangle, and then once the deeds are selected, they're filled in the grid below. You can just do a quick search here. Much like the other deed tool within Luna. And this allows the user to review, modify, and edit deeds in sort of a batch mode and a workflow. When it's complete, the grid will be full-featured and allow the user to sort, group, and do other bulk actions like matching, editing deed types, and so forth. Okay, moving on to the final area of the application, the control panel. The control panel is the jumping off point for record management, navigation, structuring, and organizing records across different data sets, managing the record assignments, and then data flags for real-time QA. The subdivision tab is where most users begin their work. A user can filter on a number of different text fields or filter by specific criteria. And then they can group the results by different levels of data. So for example, if I wanted to find all subdivisions where Babcock Ranch is in the name, and where, let's see, Meritage Homes is the builder, I can just add an additional text filter and it performs an and search. Down below, I have my results and just some other features here. So as I mentioned, I could group it by subdivision or county if there were multiple results. In this case, all of the subdivisions are in Charlotte County. Send that back to subdivision. It also lets me know how many subdivisions were selected or found by the criteria that I set. And in this case, we had 3 results. And this little hyperlink will modify the map. So right now, I see subdivision pins for everything in the market or active and future within the market. But if I click the hyperlink, then it changes the map pin filter so that now all I'm seeing are the 3 subdivisions that met my criteria. Users can also choose to include built-out sections in their results. Not sure if we'll get any here. But if Meritage had been building in a subdivision that was already built out, by setting that flag, we would have gotten additional records. From the subdivision tab, the user can also export a number of different reports under this menu. The other typical use case is for navigation in general. So once I've got my result set, if I click on the map pin next to the subdivision name, it will zoom into that subdivision. It expands the record so that I can see the top level information about this particular subdivision, where it's located, when it became active, the most recent imagery dates. It gives me a lot count and a quick look at the number of parcels that have been assigned to the subdivision, or if I have a lot delta and need to do some work in creating user lots, the high-level profile, does it have any production builders in the subdivision, and the last time it was surveyed, and the quarter that relates to, and then this little symbol here indicates what the method was for the last update. It also lets me know how frequently we're updating this subdivision. So this particular subdivision is on a 60-day cadence, meaning after the last survey date, then it kind of goes into a hibernation, I'll say, for about 60 days. And then once it hits that day 61, it goes back into rotation and we start looking for new satellite imagery. Underneath the subdivision card, we have a listing of all the sections. Again, this is, if I didn't set that flag, we would only see the active sections. But these are all of the sections or plats that are a part of this subdivision. So if I click the little caret, then that expands that phase for me so that I can again see that top level information, the last time it was updated, who the builders are, and so forth. Clicking the icon next to the section or phase will launch Luna and load all of the lots that make up that section. And from here, I can perform any number of tasks, as I demonstrated earlier. Each of the top-level data containers have a slide-out panel to view the details. So if I select a subdivision and then click on the Details tab, it slides out a panel where we can see all of the related or top-level data and related records for subdivisions. So within this Detail tab, we have like a sub-form that shows the plat records that have been associated with this subdivision and a hyperlink that opens that particular plat record in the Plats tab. From here, I can navigate through any of the plats associated with this subdivision. And this is where we'll do the bulk of the work for adding lots, adding new plats, and reorganizing the data. On the Floor Plan tab, we show all of the builder's floor plans that have been associated with any of the series or collections within the subdivision. Series or builder collections within a subdivision. So series records are associated with builder projects that we show in iPad and Enterprise. The Series tab follows the same design principles that the other tabs do in that it can be filtered by a number of different fields and grouped. There are also exports available. One thing to note is that each tab operates independently, so criteria that I set on the Subdivision tab is not being applied over on the Series tab. Since series records are unique to a subdivision, they're always shown as a nested record under the top-level subdivision name. So let's just take a look at one. So if we search for the subdivision Bayview Isles, we see that as the top level, but when I click the caret to expand the detail, instead of seeing subdivision details, we're seeing all of the series records that have been created or builder collections within this particular subdivision. Expanding the series card exposes all of the plats or lots that have been grouped together to make up this individual series. So at a top level, we see these lots summarized. And then expanding further, we can see details about each phase or plat that has been associated with this particular series. Clicking the pin next to the series name would open up Luna and select all of the lots that belong to that series. We also have a note feature. This was designed to facilitate communication between the construction and the sales team. Users can send notes back and forth across teams and give them a specific category, like maybe we need to create a new series or project. And the notes, once they're saved, can then also be resolved, so they won't come up in any additional queries. Series detail gives us a view of all of the various phases or sections that have been grouped together into a builder collection or series. So in this case, I've selected all of the series records. So if I wanted to just focus on just what, let's say, Inland Homes is doing in this subdivision, what I see here is that we already have two phases that have been associated with their 50-foot lot series record, but I also see that we've got a section down here that with 31 lots that have not yet been assigned to a builder series. Since it's a 50-foot lot front and we know that there are more lots, total units planned are 75, and we only have 47 so far, then the user, that would be a clear indicator that this needs to be added to that series. So just by dragging and dropping, I've moved all of the lots in this future section into this Inland Home series. We also have a link up at the top that clicking this shows us the Salesforce project that this series record has been linked to, and we can see additional details about that from the Salesforce side. The project listing is a pivoted view that shows projects at the top level with the related series records nested underneath. The project tab follows the same design principles in that it can be filtered and grouped by a number of different fields, and when a project is selected, we can slide out the detail panel and see everything, all of the data that we have for this particular project. The Flags tab is organized to allow users to QA the data in real time. So as we're adding and changing records, they can search for a number of different issues at the various data levels. So QA or integrity errors related to the subdivision. For example, maybe we have a section without any lots. We have series record QA flags where we can look for, maybe we have a builder that's not in scope that was added to a particular series, or we have an inactive builder, or maybe there are no lots in the series, and then we have project level flags where we can look for a delta between the total units planned and various other things. So let's see if I select one of these flags. I'm not sure what I'll get here, but let's go ahead and run it. And we didn't get any results for that one. I can add all of the flags, and this would take a while to run, but the way that the results are grouped are under each of these little pills. And so these can be expanded, and then some of the flags are dismissible depending on what the error is. It allows the user to address it or look at it and determine that it's not really an error and then dismiss it. The Queue tab is where subdivision updates are managed and launched. Subdivisions are scheduled for an update on a rolling cadence and classified by status as they move their way through the update process. So when a subdivision is scheduled for a quarterly update, for example, 60 days after the last survey date, we start looking for new imagery. And as soon as we receive new I-points for a subdivision, it moves into the ready for update status. If we don't get I-points within 15 days of that 60-day window, so like by day 76, then it becomes overdue. It takes on a higher priority for research. Once an update begins, then the subdivision moves into in progress. When all of the lots have been updated, then it's ready for a manager to review, and it moves into ready to submit. Once the record has been submitted, it moves into submitted, and it gets its final review, then it's approved, and we're done with that subdivision for the update period. Anything in not ready are subdivisions that haven't reached their subscription window or are still kind of in that hibernation phase between the updates schedule. So there are some subdivisions that are only updated every 120 or 150 days. These would be futures that are further back in the pipeline or really slow-moving, custom, large lot subdivisions. Those are set up on a different cadence, and so while a subdivision is in that kind of hibernation period, it just stays in not ready until the subscription window is due. In a typical workflow, a research analyst would check the queue each day for subdivisions that are ready for update or overdue. Go ahead and select those. And this is QA data, so while we have some of the 1Q updates in here, we'll go ahead and see if there's anything ready for 2Q. This is based on a calendar quarter, by the way, the quarters, and just help us kind of organize the updates into buckets. So in this example, we have 105 subdivisions that are ready for an update and 289 that are overdue. And reminder again, this is QA data, so really don't pay any attention to the dates. This is just for the purpose of demonstration. So as a user, I could just start working my way through all of these subdivisions that are ready for an update, but I think I will pick one of these Sterling Ranch subdivisions and just kind of demonstrate what that update workflow looks like. So the first thing I would do is take a look at just some general information about the subdivision to see when the last image was received, when we received the iPoints, and any tags that we might have applied to this. So the manager can kind of organize their work and apply tags throughout the update process. So as they're working through, they may need to make note of something like after an update, they may note that some of the lots now have construction and we need to go and identify who the builders are for those lots. Or if it's a really inactive subdivision or a future that is still in planning and raw land, we might want to defer it. It may be a really high priority subdivision. We haven't received any imagery in quite a while and aren't likely to get any, then we would send it out into the field to drive and set this drive tag. Or if a research analyst was working on the record, had a question, and wanted the manager to look at it, they could set the manager flag, or we could, categorize it as a high priority subdivision. We could reject the imagery if it wasn't usable. We might need to create a new series. That's what a series split would be for. Or we might want to just note that we viewed this and it is ready for an update. We've confirmed that the imagery is good and the timing is good. So once I've taken a look at the top level information, I might want to just get a look at it on the map. And so clicking the pin will zoom into that subdivision. Now we've already generated iPoints and paid for that data, so I can zoom in and just take a look at it to make sure that it's going to be sufficient. We'll turn on the imagery and load the iPoints to see what we're working with here. Normally we wouldn't actually do this for every subdivision, but just to illustrate all of the data points that are involved in processing an update. Okay, I think everything looks good here, so I'm ready to start my update or launch the update from the control panel. So clicking on the rocket will select all of the lots within this subdivision and put them in the Luna grid. Also, when we launch an update, a script runs to derive the construction status for each lot. The logic considers the previous status, which is shown in the grid here. There's the previous source and the previous status. It looks to see if we have any iPoints on a particular lot and what the construction class is. Do we have a deed associated with that lot? And are there any units of QMI on the lot? So all of these variables together are used to derive a status where possible. After this logic runs, if we have enough data to derive a status for a given lot and we're confident that all of the pieces are in place, then it makes the current source confirmed. So this indicates to the user that we have good data for this, we're confident in all of the variables that we've used, it's derived the status as occupied, and they don't need to look at it. And if we don't have data for a lot, then it actually won't have a derived status for the current update, and there will be no current source. Let's sort this. I can also group the updates by current source. And so now we can see that 47 of the lots are confirmed, slam dunk, we're happy with that status. And then there are 3 additional lots that a user is going to need to look at to determine what the construction status is. We also have real-time math checks that run, and we use a system of codes to help users know which lots they need to focus on. So in this example, we actually only have two codes that we can show. 0 code means everything is good, nothing that the user needs to do, they can just move on. And code 1 means that there is no current construction status. But we can create some additional codes. So for example, let's go ahead and group these back by the source again. Again, there's nothing we need to do with these that are confirmed. So moving on to the ones where we need to manually derive a status or update the status, what I can do is just click on the lot in the grid, and it will zoom to that particular lot on the map and shade the lot based on the previous status. So in this case, in the previous update, it was a finished and vacant unit. So if we refresh our satellite image layer here. So in this example, it looks like the unit is definitely finished, but we don't know if it's still vacant. So at this point, the user would need to do some additional research on this lot to see if we have a deed record or if we can find a deed at the assessor's office, and then move this into an occupied status. So we'll just pretend that I did that research and determine that yes, that unit has been sold and closed. And so I would change this to occupied. And now the lot moves down into the manual update status because I updated it manually, or both of these. So let's say that this lot, after doing research, I decided that, you know what, that shouldn't have been finished vacant last update cycle. It really should have been under construction. Or let's say it looks like it's under construction to me now. If I change it to under construction, it's going to do a math check and alert me to the fact that I've just moved inventory backward or construction backward. So if this was true and this unit really was under construction, then I would need to go into the previous history where we can see the status of that lot for as long as we've been tracking it, and I would need to correct this because we can't have a unit moving from under construction to finished vacant and back to under construction. There must have been an error in the previous update cycle. So to correct that, I would change this to under construction and save the changes. But before I save the changes, it's going to give me another error because now it's alerting me to the fact that you have stagnant inventory here. It's not typical for units to be under construction for that many quarters in a row. It could be correct, but it might not be. And so this alerts the user so that they can go and do additional research to make sure that we get it right. In this case, I'm just going to verify that, yep, it's correct, and save the changes. So now, once the user has finished going through all of the lots, let's group this back up. The next thing they would do is sort it by code to make sure that we've addressed all the outstanding codes. They can also use our section summary tool here just to take a look at the quarter over quarter change. And so, again, this is QA data, but in the last quarter there were 22 units occupied and 28 units in inventory. This quarter, there are 45 units occupied and only 5 in inventory. This may very well be correct, I don't know. But again, it's just for the purpose of demonstration. So they can review it here. They could put in the min-max pricing if they so desired, or leave any notes for the manager. So once the update part is complete, then the next step is to go over to the Summary Review tab. In a typical workflow, before going over to the Summary Review tab to finalize these updates, an RA or any user would probably work their way through each one of these subdivisions that are ready for update. They do the construction status update, and then then they would probably finish their day by going over into the Summary Review tab and reviewing the work and just submitting records for the manager to review and finalize. So in the Summary Review tab, so I'm going to search for any subdivisions that are ready to submit. So if everything was correct with the lot updates and it passed all of the math checks, I should be able to select all of the records for the 1Q update cycle that are ready to submit. So let's search here. Okay, now we have a list of all of our subdivisions that are either in progress or ready to submit. And we'll just go down to this is the record that we just worked on. And we can expand the data to see the sections within. And once again, just kind of review what the updates looked like. And when we're satisfied with that, we can set the method, which in this case, we use satellite imagery to do the update. And hit save. When satellite imagery is used for the update, it automatically sets the survey date to the date of the image, or the most recent image. Now that I've set the method, you can see that it's now ready to submit, and we can select this record, hit submit. Now it's in a submitted status, so to access that record again, I need to change my filter here, which I should have done in the beginning. Okay, and so now this record is ready to approve. We just select the record and click approve. And we are done. This subdivision has been updated and approved, and we don't need to look at it again for another 60 days.